Horry and Georgetown counties, we welcome you back to Sound Off, heard weekly on your favorite radio station. And at Sound Off, we're really honored to have as our very special guest again, our good friend, Detective Knox-Nesmith. Sound Off team, let's give it up for our very special guest, Detective Knox-Nesmith. Sharing some wonderful information with our listeners in Horry and Georgetown counties. The first two segments, we talked about prom safety. And before we get into this segment, we'll talk about spring break safety. Sound Off team, would you like to introduce yourselves at this time?
Howdy, everyone. I'm Avriel.
Good morning, guys. Ishmael is back.
Wake up and listen to me. It's Jonica.
That's what I'm talking about. Ishmael is back. I hope your dad is listening. He probably is. Detective Nesmith, we had the opportunity to talk about prom safety in the first two segments. And so now what I want to talk about is the fact that now it's spring break season as well. Fastly approaching. And as a matter of fact, a lot of colleges already had spring break. And my honest opinion is spring break is probably a little bit worse than prom. At least a lot of times the young people are hanging around among themselves. But I want you to give advice to the parents, and let's talk about the fact that when you go to the boulevard of Myrtle Beach and you have all the spring breakers, you don't have just Horry and Georgetown counties. You have people from all over the world. Now, what should parents be aware of, or what advice would you give parents if they will allow their young people to hang out during spring break?
My advice for parents will be pretty much similar to what we talked about during the first segment with prom. The only difference is spring break is a little bit more out of control, and I hate to even use that phrase, but than it is with prom, because prom you're going with most people that you go to school with, and it's kind of a contained environment, whereas spring break is a free-for-all for everybody. You have people from everywhere from California all the way to Virginia and all the states in between, and most people or kids from around here are not used to some of the things that they're exposed to. And that's no disrespect or trying to down anything, but they're just not exposed to a lot of the violence or a lot of the issues that most inner city kids deal with. So when they come down, they're kind of not ready. They get caught a little bit off guard in what they're going to be subjected to. I would definitely still implore parents to know where their kids are going to be. If you're going to allow your child to stay in Myrtle Beach during those times, you definitely need to check in on them. Kids, same thing. You need to check in with your parents. Let them know that everything's fine. We're having fun. I just wanted to check in. It shows you're responsible. But it's a lot that goes on between law enforcement and dealing with a lot of people that come down for spring break. And the more that you do for your personal safety and the more that the parents do to make sure that you're safe, I think it could end up being a good thing.
Now, during the break, we were talking about the fact that colleges have different rules in terms of for the students being caught in the rooms and you know, with college spring break, of course, not necessarily high school. Let's talk about that a little bit, about some of the rules with college spring breakers.
With colleges, one of the rules that I found with the universities are pushing to stamp out underage drinking. If you get caught in a room full of people and you're the only person or one of two or three people that are not drinking, you are still being charged with minor possession, and that can carry fines in court at the university or the college, as well as in our courts, in the criminal court, so you're paying a double fine. This is just something that I can pass along to the colleges that are out there. If we do a report as a result of spring break, it gets forwarded to the college. I'm not sure how Myrtle Beach operates on that. I'm pretty sure in some ways they do the same thing, and they're going to let your university or your school know what you were up to.
Okay. Avriel?
Earlier you suggested that when we're out and about that we travel in groups. So what are some of the consequences of not traveling in groups?
I would say definitely you open yourself up to being a victim, and I really use that term loosely, but you can. If it's late at night and you need to go through a dark parking garage by yourself, let's face it, they're all kind of dim, they're not really brightly lit, then I would definitely take somebody with me. If it's late at night, and we know they all travel at nighttime, you know, take somebody with you. Don't be, you know, flying down the boulevard by yourself, because if you're by yourself, you're more than likely to be a victim of a crime. It does happen. It happens a lot more than people would like to know or share, and you can just minimize the fact that if it's 5 of you to 1, they're going to probably go after just the 1.
Okay. Jonica?
And those people that are, like, traveling in those groups, what about them? Like, I had a friend who was with a group, fairly large group, and an intoxicated man stumbled out of a bar, I guess, and was trying to talk to her. Well, they were heading back to their hotel to call it a night. Thought they were done with the guy because she had already told him that she was underage. They get to the hotel, and there he is. He's persistent, following her through the hotel, and they all go in. Now, it's a group full of girls. Even though it's a lot of them, the guy is still persistent. So what, in cases that does happen, what is the proper way to handle that? Do they try to overpower him, or do they seek help from someone on the street? How do you handle that?
My best advice to that situation is you have a phone, 911. That's what it's for. If you feel you're being victimized and this man is actively following them and following where they're going and not taking no for an answer, either when she got there, or if anybody gets in this situation, stop at the front desk, because when you first walk in, they're there. Can you call the police for me, please? Usually that will deter some people. Right. Okay, she's for real. But in any case, when they were outside and he kept on, just dial 911. Can you please send an officer? We're standing outside of so-and-so, and they'll dispatch an officer to you. That's the best advice I can give you. And that's pretty much in anything. Right. Something I forgot to touch on, that sexual assaults are at their all-time high during this time of the year for prom as well as spring breakers. I cannot implore anybody enough, pick up the phone and dial 911. Don't be afraid of what anybody's going to say, your friends or otherwise. We're here to help you, and we're here to prosecute the case. And the sooner you get us on call, the better. You know, if you wake up and you don't remember anything, still call us. We'll try to sort it out with you. But with alcohol running rampant, a lot of things are going to happen. Right. A lot of bad things are going to happen. But you still have a little bit of control once you wake up or come back to your senses. Call the police. We're here to help, and we'll investigate it with what we got. And we'll just start from there and go.
Okay. Ishmael?
All right, Ms. Smith, you got spring break, right? Mm-hmm. Loud music, beautiful people, motorcycles, you know, the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. I don't want to sound like a parent and tell somebody that, you know, be safe and all this other stuff and be all concerned. But amidst all that chaos, what's the biggest advice that you can give the teens?
Use common sense. I mean, a lot of things can be easily remedied by just doing what's right, what you were taught, what was instilled in you, what you've seen other people do. You can always revert back to, you know, this doesn't feel right. I know this is wrong. You know, just use your better judgment in making any decisions. You mentioned motorcycles. My best advice, don't be hopping on them. Well, you're not a girl, but you're jumping on with strangers, because they can whisk you off. You can't jump off a motorcycle 80 miles an hour. Yeah. You know, drinking, my best advice is don't do it. But, you know, even as a parent, only thing I could do is instill everything that I know that I've taught my children, and hopefully that they make good decisions. So use everything that your parents gave you to make the best decision that is safe for you.
Once again, Horry and Georgetown counties, we were honored to have such a knowledgeable individual in the studio on this morning. Let's give it up once again for Detective Knox-Nesmith. Thank you so much. Vital information. I'm sure Horry and Georgetown counties really appreciate it. At Sound Off, Detective Nesmith, you know how it works. We never allow you to leave Sound Off without giving you the opportunity to shout some people out. So who would you like to shout out on this morning?
I would like to give a special shout out to all of the firemen and emergency personnel that responded to the fire in Carolina Forest. I would also like to give a shout out to Miss Judy Waits of Judy's Creations, because without her, I could not do my job, because she takes care of my little one for me during the day.
Shout out to my mother, Jeannie Nicholson.
I want to give a shout out again to my mother and father, Tobias Busby and Craig Conwell, and to all y'all teens and young adults out there, be safe.
I would like to shout out my older brother, Jonathan, and my parents, and, you know, the Almighty for being the Almighty. And you know what? I'm going to shout out my sister, Michelle D. Berry, and my bestie, Raekwon, a.k.a. Rayski. And, you know, I might as well shout out Fresh Red Fish Company in the top 100 Grand Strand restaurants in the book. It is official in writing. Just saying.
And as always, a very special shout out goes out to this very fine radio station, To Michelle D. Berry and Stuart Sumter Jr., our tech crew. Also, we'd like to send out our very special thoughts and prayers to all of the people that were affected by the burnout in the Carolina Forest area. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. I'd also like to shout out Courtney and Marissa and Carnisha and Judy and the Francis Marion crew on their spring break. Certainly hope you had a good time. Horry and Georgetown counties, God bless you. And remember, until next week, we sound off and
You can sound off too.